You are listening to Nobody Everybody with host Hunter Letendre. Unscripted conversations with New England's small business owners, entrepreneurs, and creatives. Visit realestatewithhunter.com/nobody-everybody.
Say that on the pod.
Yeah, I was trying to pronounce your last name, and they both took a shot at it and didn't get it either. But they were checking out your podcast, so put a little plug in there for you. I think.
Right, sweet. All right. So I always start with an intro. So today is a special episode because I'm here with my fellow board members of Catapult Seacoast. I just joined the board this last year, so luckily I have you guys with me because you've obviously been on the board much longer. So my guests today are Elizabeth Mullen, who's our vice president. You were formerly the president, though, right?
I was, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then Kaley Gagne.
Yeah.
Our current sitting president.
Yep.
Do you guys just want to introduce yourselves, say a little bit about your time on Catapult and what you currently do outside of Catapult?
Yeah, love to. You want to go first?
Well, I'm getting looked at. So my name's Elizabeth.
It's just the angle.
I have been involved with Catapult actually since 2016. Since I moved to the Seacoast. So I started out really just going to lunches and the occasional thing here and there when I got back into an industry where I could network more, and got involved a little bit more formally in 2018, 2019, joined committees and helped with fundraising, which we don't do now, which is great because the chamber handles that for us. But then we went into COVID, and the board members were all up for they were done with their terms, and so we needed new board members completely. And it was a time where everyone's kind of it's okay, they were done their terms. They had served many years, and so a couple of us just kind of stuck with it in the background. And when it came time for us to emerge back into the world, we started talking about how do we make this happen. So Scott Forte used to be, he actually ended up co-chairing with me to relaunch the organization after COVID. We merged under the chamber, and so I was that president chair role for a couple of years, had to step out of Catapult while I made a little career shift. And then luckily we had Kaley, who was already superstar on the board. And we knew she was the future president, and essentially we swapped.
Yep. Yeah, so, I was really grateful to be a part when Scott and Elizabeth were rebuilding right after the pandemic. I think it was an interesting time for, networking groups and YPNs, and just a shift in the way, the pandemic changed how we operate as society. So, yeah, I jumped on when Scott and Elizabeth were co-chairs, and I was really just kind of a jack of all trades for a while, really filling the voids that we saw as a board. And we just really started to excel from there. It was a great time to jump on, and I'm grateful for all of the experience and exposure Catapult has done for me. So.
Yeah, she was quote unquote secretary, aka would jump into anywhere and everywhere and save the day.
Jack of all trades.
Yep. Or they say Jane of all trades.
Jane
right?
of all
Is
trades.
That
there you
go.
go.
My tagline.
That's better, actually. I feel like obviously, me joining now, it's not directly following COVID, but there's been several board member changes as well. So I feel like maybe are we moving on to that was the rebirth, and now we're on this new path with it. That's what it's felt like to me since joining. For context, I'm the new events chair for the board. So we've been planning some fun events, getting the hang of it. What do you guys do outside of Catapult?
So, I'm a banker by trade. So, what my job title is, I guess, is Relationship Development Officer for Kennebunk Savings. So I sit right out of Portsmouth, but I'm responsible for the whole Seacoast area, and a little area in Maine of the Berwicks. So yeah, what I do, I like to explain it simply as those complex business transactions. So, I deal with anyone from a small caliber business that maybe has just a couple of employees, anywhere to chains, right? So highly functioning transactions, maybe lots of wires, ACHs, those really complex type business setups, that's where I kind of step in and have those conversations with customers about what that looks like for them and if there's any sort of like functionality that the bank can do to better support them. So yeah, love my job, love getting out in the community, love being as active as I am. I've built a lot of great relationships over the last couple of years, and I'm excited to see, where my career takes me from here.
So like Kaley, my career is very tied to the community. And if you're at your desk in your office all the time, you're not doing your job.
Oh, yeah. Yep. You can't be sitting. You have to be out and about all the time.
Yeah. We always talk about like you're not meeting anybody in the office and you're certainly not meeting anybody in your home office.
And that's what they say, money's not made when you're sitting at your desk. So
exactly. So I do business development. I'm director of business development with Commonwealth Financial Group, and I officially do that for Northern New England. We're all across New England, but my office is right in Bedford. I live in downtown Portsmouth, though. Not a bad commute when you go home to Portsmouth. And I also partner a lot with our Burlington, Vermont office as far as on a more official capacity for their growth. So really my role is around, the overall concept of what I do is I connect emerging and aspiring entrepreneurs with extraordinary opportunities. And I do that by introducing people.
I love that. That's a good tagline. Did you workshop that, or did you?
Sure did.
She's been thinking on the way here.
No, that's good.
No, I stand by that. I think it encompasses the work that I do career-wise, but also how that incorporates really my mission into everything else that I do too. So Commonwealth, we're a financial planning wealth management firm. And so I introduce people to a different career path than starting a business as a fee-based financial planner. And a lot of that is discovering their markets and what would business planning look like and what kind of opportunity this would look like for them if they want to become a business owner, and just really explore that possibility. But then also the other side of what I do within the company is I find unique opportunities for the advisors to meet new people and break into new markets, and for the organization as a whole too. If there's a great community partnership, like a philanthropy, like I make the introduction, I work on that partnership, and then also just try and find new introductions for our advisors. And I filled their calendar up with so many events. No one can say that there's nothing to go to because I've listed everything in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Vermont on their calendars.
I don't know how you go to as many things as you do, because I feel like I go to a lot of different events and meetings and everything, but you've got to have me beat by double. I don't even know how you do it.
I counted recently. And because we had this planning meeting recently, my team, and we were all kind of talking about some common goals that we had, and we kind of averaged some things out so that we were all kind of aligned with some activity that we did to make sure that we're all, getting out there, meeting new people in similar ways. And one thing that came up was like, like a minimum of 2 events a month. And I was like, I wonder where I'm at. If you look at my recruiting year, which is like September to September, I counted, and by January I was already at like 26 events that I had attended. And I was like, okay, well, I probably could switch one or two out for the gym a little bit more often. But I do go to a lot of things, but I find that it's also about finding your people and knowing the people that you want to be spending time with, where they're overlapping too.
Yeah.
I just went to another event this week that I hadn't been to. There were a lot of new people, but there were also a lot of other people that I'd seen recently and that I wanted to keep connecting with. So
yeah. I definitely at some point I want to make sure we touch on how important like mentorship and having groups of people around you who are trying to accomplish the same things you are, if not having bigger and better goals than you do. Like I feel like that's so important. What I've found really interesting since joining the board is how everyone on the board and the people who attend our events, right? Because so Catapult Seacoast, we're the premier. Can we call ourselves the premier?
Yeah,
Young
that's
professional. premier young professionals networking group for the Seacoast of New Hampshire. And everyone on the board and everyone who comes to our events has such different careers. I mean, and I found that really interesting because I wasn't sure if it was just going to be entirely sales or entirely entrepreneurs or no entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you guys were expecting? Has it changed since the time you've been on the board?
I'm actually really glad that you brought that up, Hunter. I think, you know, when we first started out after the pandemic, again, we saw a lot of the same industry, right? Realtors, bankers, financial advisors, right? That was just who we were attracting.
Yeah.
And I think, right, when we think of professions as well, those are the types of people that are in sales that need to promote themselves and their business and what that looks like, right? So they need to go to networking events, right? You know, I think over the last couple years, we've really tried to shift that dynamic. We were seeing that, and we wanted to be very open to different industries, different backgrounds, different needs. You know, so even when we did our 10 to watch last year, we made sure we promoted that. You know, we don't want to just see bankers up on our on our stage this year. Like, we want to see people from all walks of life. We had a firefighter, we had someone that does podcasts, we had nonprofit and creative workers. We love to see that variety when coming to our events. And you never know who you're going to talk to, right? Like, you could be talking to your next boss, you could be talking to your next coworker, or maybe someone that you're going to end up volunteering with for the next couple years, or even like your next best friend, right? You don't know what type of connection you're going to make at our events, and that's why it's just so important to even just show up and be present.
Yeah,
I could not agree more. And I think Kaley and I did part of that rebirth phase that we had. Kaley and I have been like on tour the last couple of years, genuinely, going and speaking with local employers and their teams to try and encourage them to come, because being a professional does not mean that you are wearing a tie or high heels or Ann Taylor. Like, it just doesn't. And if you own, if you're a mechanic and you own a shop, like, great, that's you too.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a nurse, if you're a dental hygienist, that's you too. We've had a lot of chiropractors. We have a home inspector. We have a museum curator. Like,
some people from
we
the
have
trades.
an egg guy.
We have an egg guy.
I'm always going to mention Jared.
The egg guy is the funny.
Egg trader.
I truly thought that I was being messed with when I was told that's what he does. Like, I was like waiting for the punchline. Can someone explain that better than me, because it's so funny. I didn't know that was a thing.
He's an egg trade coordinator.
For like literal eggs.
For
like,
eggs.
It's not an
and
acronym.
It's just the transportation, right? Like, it's he's on the phone all day calling people, calling his members, you know, how's it going today? You know, you need any eggs? And it's all about, you know, how the eggs get from point A to point B. And some pricing involved, right? It's commodity trading, so it's a little, you know, it's not always black and white, but it's a great story for people, especially when we try to talk about the variety of people we have. So
I mean, because we get so many people, so many professions, so many personality types, I do feel like that is one of my go-tos if I'm struggling a little bit with a conversation. If someone's new, a little bit more introverted, you're trying to get them out of their shell, be like, have you met Jared? He's our resident egg guy. And
it always gets people talking.
Well, so even so I for explanation, right? So I have the committee underneath me. So I'm the events chair, and then I have right now there's 5 committee members. We're growing it. But one of them, and I won't name who, he's I think he's newer to coming to events. But at our event a couple weeks ago, he got there first and texted the group chat. He's like, I'm looking for the rest of Catapult, because he's there kind of early. He's like, the egg guy's here.
Great descriptor, right? Like, there's one and only.
But I couldn't agree more about, like, you just never know who you're about to meet. I feel like so I was involved with Keen Young Professionals before I moved to the Seacoast. So I held the president role there, but I got involved because someone was trying to recruit me to my last company. He was like, I could really use a membership co-chair. You should really get involved in networking with a young professionals group. I was like, what is that? You know? And that was in like 2011. And so I got involved there, kind of grew, and I realized like the professional development aspects of it. But really through that experience, I ended up meeting somebody that I became friends with and roommates with. And when she got promoted at her job was open. And that's how I got into the next step of my career. I was like, do you mind if I apply for your job?
Mm-hmm.
And so that job ended up promoting me and sending me to the Seacoast. In the Seacoast, I realized the job I moved for was not for me long term. And I went back to the original person that recruited me to the last YPN. And I was like, can I work for your company now? Not for like what you wanted me for, but I want to be a recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to that company. Well, then I was through all that networking. I was like, okay, now I can go back to like going to YPN stuff
Mm-hmm.
more regularly. By going to Catapult, I then met my friend Carrie. And Carrie doesn't come to things as often anymore because her role in a nonprofit has grown quite a bit.
Yeah, she's very well known now.
Very
Yep.
well known,
She's
very
excelling.
established.
Yep.
Well, I live in her old apartment. Like everything in my life
Connections
keeps
matter.
leading to the next opportunity, even where I live,
Yep.
Yeah.
which I'm grateful for. But you never know. And she's become such a good friend too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great point. I started out my career in the chamber world. So I have to put a plug in for our chambers because we do work in collaboration with all of the local chambers on the Seacoast. But yeah, I started in high school, right? I was in Future Business Leaders of America, FBLA, which we just did some work for recently. Not too long ago, Elizabeth did a nice presentation with them. But yeah, it started out with right connections and building relationships. That work with FBLA when I was in high school led me to an internship at the Rochester Chamber. And that's really where I started my knack for networking, I guess. Those connections that I made in high school and at a really young age actually led me into my banking career. I had no idea at the time, but I didn't want anything to do with banking, right? I went to UNH for marketing. Like my goal was to work in some marketing department one day. My dream was to work for the Red Sox in their marketing department. But it didn't work like that, right? I got really involved in the Seacoast and going to different networking events and chamber events and just being a really active member of the community. And all of those connections that I made ended up leading me to where I am today, right? Like I'm still in banking. I'm still being active in those chambers. I have a lot of great relationships with people, across the whole Seacoast area. And I think that's so crucial. Building those connections and relationships at a really young age, like you don't know where it could lead you in life, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you are not in the career that you originally set out for. I'm not either.
Yeah, yep. And that happens, right? More often than not, we go to college at a young age with this dream. And sometimes, life just leads you in a different direction, right? I didn't want to move away from this area. I stayed in this area with my husband and we have a little family now and this is my home, right? Every time I travel, I do love to travel, but I probably make it about 3 days before I'm like, oh, I want to go back to the Seacoast.
Have you guys heard of the term fracture moments?
Ooh.
So you both just told stories that made me think of that so a fracture moment would be like if you trace back something in your life to the moment that created that, right? So for instance, I can trace back my entire real estate career to years ago when I was still in college. I went to my aunt's house for lunch and she was telling me about investment properties that they own. And I had never considered this as an option. And I can picture myself exactly there in that moment. We're having a glass of wine, talking about this. And I went home after and I researched it for a couple days straight. And then I signed up for an internship with a brokerage. And then the rest is history, right?
Yeah.
And so that was my fracture moment that if that hadn't happened, I don't know if I would have this career or anything like it.
Yeah.
So in both of the stories you just told, you can trace those back to like those quote unquote fracture moments. And I think that's one of the way to, create those for yourself is to put yourself in situations, right? Yeah. Mine was, that specific example wasn't a weird situation, but now even with attending the networking events and meeting all these new people, I can guarantee that 5-10 years from now, you can trace it back to something, you know, again, from that, be like, oh, I met that person at a Catapult event, and that was a fracture moment for this new path.
It's funny you bring that up.
You're like thinking right now, you're like, oh my God, I have so many.
Well, I remember mine. I didn't even realize recruiting was a career. And this summer will be 15 years for me.
Wow.
And, but you had brought up mentoring before, and like, we'll kind of get to that. But I'm at that point where yesterday I was like moved because I was on the other side of a fracture moment for someone else. Like, I helped prompt one and I could see it. Yeah. And I left there being like, okay, so we're calling it a day, right? Yep. Like, that, like I felt that too, you know? So it was because of an introduction to this person who, by the way, I'm totally going to get together with again. She's awesome and she is going to run the world, I am convinced. And I told her that. So I just think that as we look back and think about our own fracture moments, like we can utilize those to empower other people that are coming up in their careers and trying to figure it out, because really that's what somebody else did for us.
Yeah. I love that. And I love what you also said too about, I guess both of you, not being in the career that you set out for. That was me too. I mean, I went, when I had that realization with real estate, I was already like a junior or senior in college. I started going to college for international affairs and I had no idea what I was going to do. Right. And I think a lot of it is we're asked too early to make that decision. Yeah. And I see a lot of people that are our age get stuck on that track that they chose then and not realize that you have every other option in the world. You're not limited to what you started your freshman year of college.
And you see that time and time again, right? Like people over the course of their careers, they change, right? Yeah. Even my own dad, right? He was in real estate, then he was in insurance, it sometimes that happens, right? Yeah. You don't enjoy the path that you end up on. Maybe it's not the right fit for you or it reached your expectations and you hate it. I know for me, I would hate sitting behind a desk all day in a cubicle like that. That wouldn't be a role that would be good for me. I love being out in front of people and making those connections, right? I'm not a back office desk person. No way.
No, not at all. Which I will tell you the career path that I was going to be on, because I have a degree in history. I fully intended to take a year off and go back to grad school because I was going to be a librarian. I was dead set. I was, at first when I went into college, I was like, I'm going to be a journalist. And then that shifted to maybe teacher. And then I was like, heck no, I'm not being a teacher. I want to teach, but not in a classroom. Yeah. Did a little psych and then finally landed on history. And I graduated during like the part of the recession and was unemployed for almost 3 months and happened to take interviews with a staffing company, and I didn't know what that was. Yeah. I just know that they were calling me back.
They were going to give you money.
I remember going on this terrible interview, and who forgot, it was a car dealership in Keene that forgot I was coming. Oh, God. They had coffee stains and rips in their sweater. They were like, why are you here? And I was like, that was the worst interview of my life. And then they called me back and interviewed me in office again at the staffing company. And then they go, well, this is for in-house, right? And I was like, obviously. And I left. I was like, I have no clue. But you genuinely just never know. You have to like go with what feels like the next opportunity. Yep. Truly, though, I did not know recruiting was a career. Yeah. But I've also had several recruiting careers within my career. I've only been in finance for almost 9 years. I actually used to specialize more in firearms and machining. I know. This is taking a lot of time.
I didn't know any of this. This is all like weird lore that I'm just learning now. It's great.
There's a picture
I'm like
of
entranced.
Me. I'm sure my former boss has it, guys. I'm in like a pink dress in my office with an AR-15 poster behind me. Nice. And it's just because it was just so funny looking if you like know me.
Yeah.
But so I just like you have these moments and you have no idea at that time that it's about to change everything.
Yeah.
But it does.
Chills. What area of did you major in, like a specific area of history, or just is it like a broad history degree?
U.S.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I love. I'm like a little
History
history
of
buff, so
America.
I'm like, what?
I did a lot of. I was like 1 credit short of a women's studies minor.
Okay.
So I did a lot of women's studies. I did a lot of like Civil War stuff.
Oh.
And then, truthfully, it was not on purpose. I didn't realize you only had to do 1 senior seminar. I signed up for a second one, and it was World War I. I don't know if you've ever studied World War I, but I never want to again.
It was rough.
I did take a whole semester class, though, on Christopher Columbus. Loved by most people in his life.
Which we see today, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I think took like history of baseball, history of people with disabilities in the United States.
Cool.
I did like a presentation on the Victorian period and its effect on eating disorders in the United States. Like I just like there's so many cool ties that you can think about. So
we should talk about that another time. We should do like a history episode.
I'll be back.
I didn't major in it, but I have a lot of niche history knowledge. So
My favorite word, niche.
Amazing. Punched my microphone. So there was some specific like overarching aspects of Catapult that we wanted to talk about. Do you want to kind of tell me what you were thinking with that?
Yeah. Her notebook, and this is her Olympics.
So maybe before we kind of get down into that rabbit hole, I can kind of have Elizabeth touch on what kind of stay work play is, and she is sitting on the board currently, so I kind of want to highlight that for her. So yeah, tell us about stay work play, and then I can get down into the overall why.
Stay work play, just a really like a very abbreviated version is there was originally like almost like a project or initiative through UNH to try and retain like 1% more each year of the students after they graduate, trying to keep young people in New Hampshire. So it really was more of like a study to initiative. And what it ultimately ended up morphing being is a nonprofit called Stay Work Play New Hampshire. Corinne Benfield is amazing, and I'm sure a lot of people who listen to this will know her. She started as executive director in the fall. And really our whole mission is to attract and retain young people in the state of New Hampshire. There's a ton of series going on, right? Like just trying to highlight 603 life, like people who are born and raised in New Hampshire, like what they're doing here. Highlighting and talking to who we call boomerangs, people who grew up in New Hampshire, were like, I'm going to Boston or New York, and I was
California.
One of those people, and I never left.
But they always come back,
and
to
they
the
always
East
come
Coast.
back. And so, like during the winter, there's the Welcome Home series, like towards the holiday season, so people have a reason to kind of connect when they start traveling home and things like that. So
it's kind of funny. It's like we knew you were coming back.
We were waiting for, and this year was at like a series of the new casinos, and so it was like, here's the little gift card. Welcome home. Like, here's something there's a
new.
taco bar. You know what I mean? So really trying to find different ways to engage young people in the state, that there's reason to stay here. But it's also taken the next step now because we've gone through phases. The step that we're in now is we have a board of directors and we have a board of advisors, and we have the Rising Stars Leadership Program. So kind of like Leadership New Hampshire, Leadership Manchester, Leadership Seacoast, things like that, but a little bit more specific through our content. We have these programs, but we're also taking the step of we need to support or push against certain legislation. We're a nonpartisan group.
Yep.
So we have some heavy discussions sometimes on our board of like, what do we support, what do we not? And New Hampshire is it's one of the oldest states. I think it's the second oldest state in the country. We have one of the largest legislative bodies. but the average age of our state government is like in the 60s, their 60s.
Yeah.
And you don't really get paid a lot to do it. So it's less young people being represented in our state government. And so like part of our initiative is to represent that voice. And so we don't just like pick topics that we think are important. There are some formal surveys statewide that give us good data, but there's also open forums that we have too. And every couple of years those take place. And so they're policy and pints. They take place in each area of the state. And State Work Play is kind of like a hub or a center for all of the state's young professional networks. So traveling to each region and having this open forum in a casual environment, and it's, what are the reasons that you guys stay here and love living here? What are the reasons that you would leave here? And we take a vote. Like, we have big pads of paper. We list things out. We have
It's collaborative.
big discussions.
Sounds so fun.
It actually
Truly, that wasn't sarcasm.
Really
I'm like,
last year.
It's really fun. We did it at the kombucha place in Dover last year. And it was great discussion because it also brought people in that saw that and they didn't even know about Catapult. So really looking at, okay, what were the statewide trends and what were the regional trends so that we can really give more focused efforts and support to the young people in these areas and overall for the state. So like housing, statewide issue. Like, and that came up everywhere. So without, I won't even get into the weeds of it or anything like that, but it's like, okay, so we need to address certain legislation that may go through around housing. And does this support young people being able to live here? And like, childcare things, right? Like the cost of childcare is super expensive. So again, won't even get into the weeds with the policies or anything, but that's really what we're doing. And finding ways to connect and just letting people know like there are ways to stay here and really build a beautiful life here because I mean, I'm pretty biased, but we're kind of the best state.
easily the best state. I love that you mentioned that it's like a bipartisan group because I think I love politics. I love a good debate. And I think it's so important and so healthy to promote being able to have those kind of conversations regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum. Like that's the only way we're ever gonna have any progress is if we can have those conversations even if they're hard.
Absolutely.
So shout out to Corinne. She has been amazing since the get-go, since she started last fall. Actually within, I think it might have even been her first couple weeks, but she was one of our speakers at our largest event of the year, 10 to Watch. So Corinne started what we call like the YPN Advisory Council. What that looks like is collaboration amongst all YPNs in the state. So a lot of times we're having these really great conversations. I know I just attended one last Friday and we kind of talked about the impact of YPNs in certain areas. So if we kind of think about the state as a whole and the drive to attract and retain young professionals, New Hampshire is an aging population, right? We're seeing a shift in the demographics in our state. And there's a lot of individuals that kind of talk about the impacts that could have on the economy long term if we're not attracting and retaining the young professionals in this area, right?
And I will add a note to that. So there are more people. So something that gets highlighted a lot about New Hampshire is that, but we're one of the growing populations out of all the states. More people are moving here than are being born here. So there's a race against people passing away, and then like people are just moving on into the state at a higher rate than us having children, which most people can't afford to have at the moment, and it's mostly out-of-staters buying up our real estate too, so it's making that much more difficult. And ages 20 to 40 are only 25% of the population of the whole state.
Well, I can tell you, from my perspective, right, I have a lot of clients coming into New Hampshire just from Massachusetts alone. I have a lot of clients coming from California, coming from New York, coming from a lot of these states that are maybe not as live free and die as we are, right? Live free or die.
New Hampshire's a beautiful state.
It is a gorgeous state, but I'll tell you too, what I'm seeing typically aligns with that was most of those clients are older. I've had a few that were younger that were coming, but most of them are older. New Hampshire is one of the best states to retire in, right? So that alone is attracting an older population.
And we see it too, right? So Stay Work Play and in collaboration with us, we try to figure out what the root cause of a lot of those issues are, right? Yeah. So Elizabeth kind of touched on a lot of them, right? Cost of housing, childcare. This area is really expensive to live in, especially the Seacoast area. So I don't know what sort of impacts that's going to have on us long term, or if we have a lot of boomerangs, right? A lot of people that maybe are going to college, they're going to start their first job somewhere else in the country and then make their way back home. The Seacoast and in New Hampshire in general is a beautiful area to settle down in, and I think we see that, right? Just people are having children at longer ages. Oh my God,
later
in
life.
Yes. Oh my God.
Edit that.
Life. So people are having. So people are having, babies, later in life, and I think we are going to start seeing the greater impacts of that.
Yeah. Well, just for people coming into the state too. So Manchester, New Hampshire is, as of a few weeks ago, was the number 2 hottest housing market in the country, and during COVID was the number 1 hottest housing market in the country for several months. Manchester. Vegas.
Vegas. I will tell you, side note, that I went to the Whitney Cummings show in Concord a couple weeks ago, and she kept trying to say the state slogan, but she kept landing on like "live free or die hard," "live free, die hard," and all of us were kind of like, "No, that's about right."
Yeah,
and then she goes, "So tell me more about like where certain people are from, whatever." And someone said Manchester. She's like, "Tell me something about Manchester," and everyone just goes, "Manch Vegas." I feel like you want me to be part of something here, and I'm not.
They also say that about Rochester, though, and we do have a new casino in Rochester, so we're getting there.
The casinos are just springing up everywhere. The Rockingham Mall just put the one in too.
But the state, they have the charitable gaming, right?
Yep.
So they are required to give a certain amount back to local nonprofits, and I think that's huge. That is a constant conversation I have with my customers, because I have casinos and I also have a lot of nonprofits, and it's all about how we collaborate together and connections, right?
Getting some great connections in a casino and a little bit of money too. I mean, it's kind of the whole package. We should do an event at one.
I was thinking we do an event at the new one in Rochester. They have a really great restaurant in there. So I was gonna put a.
What if we did it as like a black tie casino night?
Oh, a special event.
We could have our own charitable cause with it too.
Okay, I do love that. We should definitely do a nonprofit in Rochester.
Yeah.
I'm always up for a black tie event.
Oh, me too.
We did one at the Brook in Seabrook. What was that, 2 years ago?
Yeah. Not even quite 2 years ago. We did our holiday party there.
Yep.
Okay.
And they actually did a demo, right? It was blackjack demo. So a dealer came in and he was just kind of explaining the game to our group.
Okay.
It was a really interesting event. So maybe Rochester
I think it was more interesting. I mean, that was interesting.
Yeah.
But I think it was more interesting that it was at our holiday event with an ugly sweater contest. So we had people sitting around the table with like blinking tree, ugly sweaters, sharks.
Some vests.
One of our good friends was in a reindeer onesie with the hood up.
That's a good one.
Yep.
So just like there's a reindeer sitting at the blackjack table, so that was fun.
I think either of those, that one or black tie, will both accomplish the goal of we'll stand out, right? And that's how we get, some more activity, some more interest, right?
I love
the black tie, though. I don't know. I think our group would love that.
I think it'd be fun.
An excuse to dress up and get out,
Who doesn't
right?
like that? I mean,
I have several gowns in my closet waiting for another event. So
most of the time I don't wear heels
I'm
past
not
5.
kidding.
So I just
that's right. You make an entrance in them and then take them off. That's okay.
Oh, Carter could
So
have a tux.
Kaley's son, He's unofficially our mascot because he is just the sweetest little one.
We're starting him young.
Yeah, are they going to let him into the casino?
You know, he did go to the holiday party because I happened to be only like a month on maternity leave when we did that holiday party at the Brook.
And she showed up to the casino with her newborn, and it was not in bad taste. It was in good taste.
Yep, we were just popping in, saying hi. But everyone loved it because it was kind of the first time that he was out and about, and I was able to see some, folks that I regularly see but hadn't seen, in probably a month and a half at that point. So yeah, it was good to get out.
Yeah, that's cute. He could be a greeter too if they weren't going to let him in or something. Yeah. Greeter in the parking lot.
He has gone to a couple events.
How old
before,
is he?
So.
Can he speak?
Oh yeah, he's certain. He has his words now, so he's repeating us, saying like truck, ball, getting basketball out there.
Catapult event this way.
Right for the sports.
Yeah. Yep, right for the sports, baseball and basketball.
You know the Red Sox love, right?
Oh, he has an arm already. So,
are you planning a career for him?
I'm not that type of parent, but I'm hoping he loves the same hobbies as
the audience is missing the look that she just received after
that. Don't believe Kaley at all. I think she's secretly plotting his Red Sox career.
I would love
working
that.
On
that
his
was
resume.
Supposed to be Josh's plan, so.
Yeah, she's got this mapped out.
Yeah,
I don't believe her when she says she won't.
Well, he does go to all our men's league games right now, so that's pretty. Yeah, he's getting in tune with the sport.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do if one day he goes, "Mom, I do have a good arm. It's because I'm a painter."
Oh, well, my grandfather was a painter, so I feel like I'd have to support that,
I really thought
Painting's
I was going
a
to throw
good career.
Yeah.
You got to go like I have a good arm. I want to play for the Yankees or something.
Oh, then we'd have to have a conversation.
Like where he's going to live now.
You're like, I'll still love you, but how could you do this to me?
He actually does have a New York Mets hat, and that's only because it was his first MLB game, sadly. But yeah,
sadly,
yeah. But if I were to go to New York, I'd have to go to the Mets, not the Yankees.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
You can compromise with him. Be like, here's your options. It's not going to be the Red Sox. Here's your options.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah.
We're only discriminating baseball teams.
Yeah.
If you are new to the area, we still welcome you.
I am born and raised in New England. I have to be a New England sports fan.
That's totally fine. It's only expected. Yeah. If anything, if you're just going to be a traitor to your team, then that's
absolutely.
what's not respectable.
Oh, absolutely.
So. I feel like we should talk a little bit about some of the cool events that we have coming up. I mean, obviously we have speed networking, not speed dating.
Yes.
Has been a
common misconception
at our for the audience.
I tried to make a quick correction.
She got the eyes right away.
Oh, man.
At one of our recent events, so I was going around and explaining to our guests that we were going to have speed networking coming up, and I'm, hey, it's going to be so fun. And then Elizabeth gets up to make her announcement and calls it speed dating.
Yep,
I said speed dating.
/networking.
And the next thing I know, I'm being tapped on the shoulder by someone, and they're like, "It's dating? It's dating?" I'm like, "No." Well, you know what? You're an adult, so what two consenting adults want to do, I don't care. But it's networking.
Like I said, you never know who you're going to meet at the event, right?
Exactly. But don't go there with the intent of speed dating.
I will say, and not the purpose of our group at all, but I do actually know people who met their spouses at a young professional event, like various young professional events.
Yeah,
Scott, right? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know actually.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
No. Oh, no. Yeah.
I feel like we have roughly 50-50 on single people and then married or serious relationship people.
Oh,
you feel like that makes
about?
And I feel like that's been about.
Yeah, and we have some people that show up that have families and everything too. Yeah. We have, a very diverse group that shows up. Yeah.
I've actually said recently too, because I've spoken at Leadership Seacoast for Economic Development Day for a few years, which is always awesome. And this year I collaborated with Corinne from Say Work Play. And one of the women mentioned, this comes up more often than not, actually, of people being like, I don't know many people. I want to get out there. I want to meet new people, go to events. sounds like you guys have great events, but it's really difficult certain times of the day because I'm a parent. And sometimes it's a single parent. Sometimes it's just like their partner and them. Like the schedules just do not align for them.
Being a parent and trying to get out is very tough. It can be challenging.
I go, you know what? If you bring your kid, and I don't say that always, but I'm like, if depending on what the event is, if it's appropriate, like there are times where it's like, we're just talking about Carter, you know, like bring your kid. You should not be feeling like you can't
miss
meet
out.
new people because you have a 1-year-old at home and you're trying to work and you're trying to juggle. And then it's like, you just never know who you're going to meet, right? We keep saying that and what opportunities that leads to. If it's a matter of like you getting an opportunity to meet people, don't be held back because you think you need a babysitter.
Yeah.
Bring your kid.
Softball pitch here. What if we did like a quarterly parent like kid event, like at a kid friendly place?
Yeah, we've thrown that idea up before. I think it's been on the table before. I think it's now a matter of us getting out and doing the things we've always talked about that we wanted to do.
Oh yeah, because there's so many things that we used to do.
Our ideas have been spinning for the last couple of years together.
You're bringing back book club, which is so exciting.
Yeah, I'm really
and
excited about book clubs.
We used to have intramural leagues, which we don't necessarily have the people on the board anymore that used to do that. But if somebody brought it up and was like, I'll spearhead it, great.
Yeah, that would be a good one too.
But we were talking yesterday about the new athletic club, recreation club, about you know, places like that. Like we can do things with facilities like that. You know, like if somebody was like, have we ever done a field day before? So like a good old-fashioned field day?
Ooh. So it's funny you mentioned this because
I think it's about what you were talking about earlier.
Yes, is it? Okay. I just went to a Summersworth Chamber event, right? And they did it at the New England Sports Dome, which is the largest sports dome in New England, I think.
The premiere.
Yeah. Another premiere.
Another premiere. We're so fancy.
And it's right in my area, right? So I've gone there multiple times. You can hit golf balls there. They have like a full range. You can, there's various sports there. I've seen flag football. I've seen soccer, softball. I've seen whatever, you name it, it's there. And Summersworth Chamber just did a business after hours there, and we got talking with the owner. So Julia, actually one of the committee members, she made the introduction to me. And we actually talked about what if we did like a Catapult Olympics one night, something fun like that. She was very open. The event coordinator was very open to just giving us a portion of the field. And I was like, that would be so fun for our group, right?
So fun.
Yeah, put people in a different setting, right? I think people love challenges. They love getting active, and it's something different, right? You don't have to have certain capabilities to come to the Olympics, right?
Well, there's so much we could do with that too. We could have traditional, more like sporty type ones. We could have a puzzle one. We could have the one where you put a spoon in your mouth with an egg on it.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
There could be something for everybody, right?
Yep.
That could be really fun. We could do prizes at the end.
Might be a good winter one too, right? Inside.
Yeah. That'd probably be a good idea.
I'm really loving the energy that you've been bringing, Hunter.
Yes.
Because first of all, I'll just say that we've had fantastic event chairs, have taken on the world for us, and we could not be more appreciative.
And got us in a really great place as an organization.
As we were rebuilding and everything. And so shout out to our past event chairs. We love you.
Yes.
And you've been coming in and mixing things up.
Yeah.
And at first we were like, something unique every quarter. But we say that about a lot of things, and then we get rolling with ideas, and it's a little bit more frequent, which honestly, great. If we have the capacity for it, I love it.
Yeah.
And it does draw in more people. I mean, so we do once a month, we do Coffee and Connect. So yesterday we did Busy Bee Cafe in Rochester, which was great. We had 10 people in the side room.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
They're a newer business, so it was nice to be able to support them too and get some new customers in there.
Yep.
Absolutely. Shout out to the owner and his wife for having a baby a week ago.
Yeah. The bagel that I got was delicious.
It smelled delicious. It was cinnamon.
It was really good. It was like French toast bagel. Yeah,
and supporting the Rochester area, which is a new collaborative partner for us as of last year. So
Yeah, I'm excited. We've been making sure that we're hitting every corner of the Seacoast, collaborating with every corner of the Seacoast and every chamber. We're doing things that appeal to a more variety of people and their interests. And it's been cool to have that, because in the rebuilding phase, it was a lot of us trying to share the value of what this group can bring, because there is professional development you can get out of it too. I'm a big believer in if you are working at a job where you're feeling a little stagnant, but it's not quite right to leave yet, or that growth opportunity isn't quite there yet, or you can't quite take on those things at work yet because somebody else does them, join a board, join a committee, get those hard skills and some soft skills to kind of be able to move up and elevate in your career. But then now we also have the opportunity of doing more fun stuff with that establishment. So we're definitely out of rebuilding phase. We're just kind of in expansion mode.
Yeah.
And that's just been it's been really fun to see and be a part of, and have new people join and new energy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just been really, really awesome.
Yeah. You're a real driver for us, and I think, right, that's what we needed. We're a nonprofit board. We're made up of 7 individuals. We now have 2 committees as of this year. That's been a long formulating thing that I think Elizabeth and I have dreamt of. We've always kind of planned for it, but the pieces didn't fall into place until this year, when we had a shift in board members. And I think it was just that new energy. It's getting us in a different place. That excitement is back, and I'm really excited to see where that leads us. I think the event lineup this year was really excelling. I think that we ended our 10 to watch event last year on a really high note. That got people really excited for the 2025 year for us. I think opportunities are endless with us. It's just a matter of how we set ourselves up strategically in the Seacoast.
Yeah. Well, something that gets overlooked when you're building anything is you have to have a solid base. You have to have a strong foundation, or you can't build anything on top of it, right?
Yeah.
So I like the phrasing of you had your rebirth period and then creating this foundation that now we can go and do all these things and try all these different things on, right? In our creative event next week, right? It ended up, we got it settled a little bit late, and I was a little bit worried about getting people in, but I think there's 1 spot left as of this morning.
And
right?
that was out for 2 days.
Yeah.
Shout out to Board and Brush.
Yeah, Board and Brush.
We're very excited. Yep.
And, for context too, I was just doing the math in my head. It's not much math, but bear with me. I told you I'm not a math major.
In my head. History major.
But 4 years ago, this was me alone on my couch, manually putting together spreadsheets because all of our accounts had lapsed. Without a board together to make sure the bills were paid.
Yep.
And trying to figure out, do we have a P.O. box? Insurance, website,
bylaws.
Bylaws. Where are those?
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's nothing against the previous board leadership, because honestly, it was all set up a certain way, and then it literally went dormant for a little bit. But for a while there, it really was me, Bravo on my TV, on my couch for hours, just manually putting things in spreadsheets and being like, okay, what is the next step? And trying to send newsletters of if you're interested, and this is still your
testing
email,
the waters with events,
please email me back. Interested in learning more, getting involved, please tell your friends.
And I was one of those people that responded.
Yes, exactly. And also in that time of what is that next step, the chamber reached out. Again, shout out Ben and Nate from the Portsmouth Chamber Collaborative. They reached out and were like, hey, I know you had some involvement in Catapult. We've got a couple young people involved in the chamber who want to start it. And I was like, it's already happening. So let's chat about that. And it ended up in being a merger underneath the umbrella of the Portsmouth Chamber. And so they essentially became this business backbone for us so that we could build that foundation again and not worry about paying for a P.O. box or any kind of insurance. Our mail goes to, that's our physical location. And the other benefit and they'd help with the fundraising too. So we're not doubling up. They handle that fundraising for us for sponsorships. And because they are part of this greater chamber alliance with all of the Seacoast chambers, we're essentially members underneath all of those chambers and able to collaborate with them. So if you're looking to build your career and get involved, I mean, you have immediate access to all of the Seacoast chambers, which is like amazing. It's like,
and they're also
handing
collaborative,
candy to a baby.
right?
Like, there you go.
Yeah. And even if you're not in a career, again, where you need to network, right? Like you're not in a sales type career or whatever, you're always going to benefit just from meeting more people and learning more about other industries and other people's insights and everything, right? There's something to benefit from this no matter what it is you do. Even if you're like a stay-at-home mom or something, like you come and learn what other people do and make friends and put yourself out there.
See where it leads you, right?
Exactly.
And back to, more so the state initiative with Stay Work Play, the advisory council has been very eye-opening to some of the other YPNs in the state. You know, I think Catapult was really lucky that we were so early on in that rebuild period. We are still seeing that a lot of YPNs are in that rebuilding phase right now. So those conversations are really important because, I see us as a resource for other YPNs in the state. I think we've put ourselves in a really good position for development in the future and succession planning, right? Those other YPNs need to build that longevity standard so that way they can be sustainable for the future as well.
And now you know what I'm saying. We are the most active young professionals group in the state. And I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's not even just like from a data perspective. I've had people at our events say to me like, oh, you guys seem to do way more than anyone else. Like there's a general idea of that out there floating around.
So I think you started to get into it, but what is our event lineup, Elizabeth?
Oh, thanks for asking.
We started with the coffees and got really down, spiraled there.
Well, we definitely played around with dates a little bit, but we've kind of gone back to the traditional structure we used to have about like Wednesdays or Catapult days. We do coffee and connect, and that is definitely a casual thing. You come in, you buy your own coffee, sit down, hang out, and we can talk about some community initiatives, but it's really just morphed into more networking. But it is also kind of a safer space for some people too. If, say, you don't even want alcohol near you, but you want to go to networking events, this is an option. If you're a little bit more shy, it's not as intimidating than an after hours.
Typically, they're smaller groups, but we have seen groups. 15, plus sometimes,
Oh, yeah. A couple months ago in Exeter, we were expecting 5,
that was
and we
intense.
got 20.
And it was,
which is a large coffee.
Well, and that was like the very first one that I had planned, right? Like, I think that was the February one.
And I was like, don't worry about it. I got 3 last time.
Yeah. But I was freaking out a little because I told the restaurant or the cafe, it was Me and Ollie's.
Yep. Shout out Me and Ollie's.
Shout out Me and Ollie's. They're great. I take all my meetings there in Exeter. But I was like, yeah, we'll probably have 10 people. And then it was well over 20. We were so loud. I mean, it was great, but I was sitting there sweating a little because I'm like, they're going to be mad at us.
We love to keep those relationships with our local restaurants because, we do support them regularly and typically go to the same spots, but always looking for new venues,
Yeah, we do try and support first and foremost the chamber members.
Yes.
As well as young professional owners.
Yes.
So we do the Coffee and Connects. Again, that's first Wednesday of every single month, 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Also great for parents, too, that can't do the night stuff. We have a pause on lunches right now. Yep. I have been asked a little bit, but also it gets tricky during the middle of the day,
I was considering lunch as one of the options for book club. Might be a good one, right? Because
I like that, yeah.
And that's something I put on the form. So if you're interested in book club, we're going to have the date for May on our website and with a link to the form shortly to fill out, what book we're going to do and dates that work. But I was thinking that lunch might be a good option for that.
I do miss having a lunchtime option for our crowd. I think, there was a lot of people that time worked for them.
Yeah.
I think just for us, we are a volunteer run organization. It was just hard for us to consistently be able to get someone available. And we don't want to ever have, a chance or something happen where we can't have a board member there to support the restaurant and the event itself. So we decided to just take a back burner on it for now. So
yeah, and I mean, honestly, shout out to the restaurants of the Seacoast.
Yeah.
They have had a crazy handful of years. And for a while there was, like if there was change in management, if someone forgot we were coming, or if they were a little short-staffed. I mean, we do not want to put a burden on the local businesses at all.
We're there to support them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we also have people that only have an hour for lunch. So if they're traveling different areas of the Seacoast, that can be a little tricky. And something we do make a point of now that we do have this shift of being part of the entire Seacoast, not just being Portsmouth-centric, is we do travel around. We alternate towns just to make sure we're supporting all of the communities and not just one. So we have the coffee's the first Wednesday of the month. Second Wednesday of the month, we have our after hours. So 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And that is, happy hour style. If you want food, we usually go places that have great food and you can order something. You order a drink and we just hang out. We tend to do it's really just local places that are chamber members and owned by young professionals in the area. But that's, I do find that can be a little bit more intimidating for someone who's introverted. But we have really grown in the sense that we have more committee members that kind of understand the assignment, we can all kind of tag team with new introductions as people come in, and we always have a big, friendly, bright banner.
Oh, yeah.
To announce where we are. And
a sign. Got the sign now.
Yeah.
If we are in a space where maybe we're not closed off and we do announcements, I try and include everybody in the room.
Maybe we need to invest in a microphone for you.
Do I need a microphone in that room?
It might be in the budget. We'll see.
I think flyers, too, with the announcement could work, right? As that way, if you can't hear, you can kind of at least get it. But I've loved when we've done at the after-hour events some kind of activity, right?
Yeah.
So in February, we did the vision board. That was so much fun. The holiday party last year, right? That was making the Christmas cards.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that stuff is, first of all, it's fun and it's cute. And then it's also, if you're a little more introverted or this is your first event, here's something to do, right?
Yep.
So you're not just standing there and then, everyone else who's a little nervous goes and makes a Christmas card. And then next thing you know, you're talking to them. I saw that happen in real time at that event,
And for context of the Christmas cards, we partnered with Granite United Way out of Portsmouth, who has partnerships all over the Seacoast. And we took donations of mittens and hats for kids with a local organization that could, hand those out to kids that maybe didn't have enough warm outerwear for the year. And the Christmas cards or holiday cards, we tried to do a mix just in case, were for seniors that live in the area. And I think, what is the word that I'm looking for? Not assisted living, but
assisted living.
Were they in assisted living?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow, I'm really cheapening this. I'm so sorry.
Community senior living, right?
Yeah. So, there are seniors in the area that the holidays were coming and they didn't necessarily have a family nearby.
Yeah.
No.
So we tried to make fun cards and
I think there was glitter.
There was 1,000% glitter and it was definitely everywhere.
I'm not the glitter person, so
some of the cards did not look like 20, 30 somethings made them.
And that's okay.
And that is okay because they were beautiful.
They were made with love.
Yes. Yes.
And it just made me happy to know that they were going to people that it would make them smile,
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. We're running out of time. I want to make sure that we shout out the rest of the board because obviously we couldn't be doing this without them.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Madam President?
So, who do we have to shout out? Well, we have to start with our our interim Eggman, Mr. Jarrett Gary.
Temporary secretary.
So Jarrett's filling in as our secretary as we fill the role. So if anyone is looking for a new opportunity to volunteer with a great organization, we are currently sitting down with people and having conversations. So we would love to sit down with you as well and figure out if it aligns with what you're looking to do in the community. So we have our secretary, we have our marketing chair, Miss Kiana Wright, who works out of Wentworth Senior Living in Portsmouth. She
is their welcome coordinator and marketing.
Does the marketing.
And I'm so sorry, Kiana, if I butchered that. But like, she truly is like a welcoming committee, and she just lights up when she talks about like how they all got to help someone move in and make it a special day, and it's like really sweet. And she's also looking for committee members. So if you are looking for a low commitment opportunity to do some marketing, it's really fun. You can be part of a bigger picture, but definitely not with the full board commitment. We are looking for committee members.
Yeah. And then we have Miss Amber Gomes, who works for Bangor Savings Bank. I don't know her official title. Do you know her title?
I know there's business development in there.
Yeah. So she does a lot. I think she floats around to some of the branches and does a lot more kind of relationship development, kind of similar to what I do. I think more on the consumer side. So does a lot of accounts and lending and a variety of things through the retail network. So shout out to Amber. She's been our community liaison for the last couple months. Also new to her role, but she's been planning some great volunteer efforts for Catapult. We have one coming up, so shout out to Best Buddies.
Yeah.
We'll be in Exeter walking. Elizabeth, you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, and that one is a family-friendly event too. So like seriously, bring your kids. There's ways that we can incorporate them in.
My son will be there. Absolutely.
Carter. Sorry, name. But so it is an event where your kids can get involved if you want them to do volunteer work with you. So there is the opportunity to walk, but we do like check-in table. There's handing out water. There's a sensory tent.
Yep.
There's kind of helping people stay the course.
Oh yeah.
And make sure they're staying en route and like
and just
waving
bring
and
your
cheering
energy.
people on.
Yeah.
Like teaching your kids to do volunteer days and doing it with them, and having
a fun environment too, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that they have a good experience with it.
It's such an easygoing event. Plus, it's a great opportunity to just get involved with Catapult from the get-go because, like I said, it's just a very casual, family-friendly, fun, energetic event that's happening in Exeter. So
yeah. And also shout out to Hope Anderson.
Yes, Miss Hope.
She is our chamber liaison. So this was added when we kind of did the merge, and it suits Hope so well. So she's part of the board as just kind of like an extra line of communication. Like especially with like finances and things like that, like, and all the miscellaneous things, and helps us understand nuances that we wouldn't think of. Or if we're like, we're gonna plan that thing on that date, and she could be like,
she's like that
maybe not the biggest day of the year for the chamber.
The missing piece of like the figuring things out puzzle.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's exactly what she does.
And the chamber just has so many great relationships with businesses in the Seacoast area. You know, that's where Hope comes in as well. You know, if we're having a hard time planning an event or need to do something last minute somewhere, oftentimes they can pull some strings for us, right? And that's a very valuable partnership that we have, especially because, you know, some of our events, you know, they do require planning. They do require funding. They do require miscellaneous details that sometimes we're just not as experienced in, right? Events are really their day-to-day type stuff, and they know exactly who to go to and how to approach them.
Yeah, and she formally is the tourism director for the Portsmouth Chamber, and she previously worked for the Dover Chamber.
Yeah.
So she just has great connections. If you're like, oh man, we are trying to get a hold of this place, she'll be like, oh, I can just text Joe Schmo right now. Like, you know, she knows. Hope knows everyone.
Yep.
Yeah. That was all our board members, right?
Yeah, and then of course you.
Yeah. Well, we already did each other.
Hunter Letendre.
Yes. I was gonna say I'm really bad at pronouncing the name, so I hope you weren't.
Oh no,
gonna make me...
I've gotten every butchering of my last name my entire life. I respond to anything that's close enough to
I don't
it.
have that like twang that Elizabeth can do.
Well, like I said, I don't, technically Letendre, but I don't go around saying I don't speak French.
Yeah.
Why would I go around? Like
That's
Letendre.
like me.
Did I come
People
in
think it's
speaking more
Gagne.
French than you?
You know?
I'm like, my dad doesn't even pronounce it that way, so why am I going to do
My
it?
married name is Gagne, so I get it.
Okay,
So people say Gagne or Gagne, right?
Yeah.
Definitely not Gagne. Can't speak an ounce of French. I don't know.
God, you just get to have a nice, easy to pronounce
You
name.
would think.
Really?
People mess up Mullen all the time.
I feel like that's on them.
So I actually was just sharing this the other day. I have to say Mullen, Mullen, like mullet, but with an N. And that is what consistently sticks.
Because they can visualize it, right?
Gotcha.
They're
They can
picturing
visualize
a
a mullet and trading it out for an N. So.
All right. Is there anything that we missed? I think we covered everything we wanted to make sure we covered.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks for having
Yeah,
us.
absolutely.
This was fun.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you,
on.
Hunter.
It was fun. All right.